the first group of white South Africans who've been fast-tracked into refugee status. The Trump administration made a big thing about cracking down on immigration and suspending the refugee resettlement program. So questions are being asked, and why has such an exception been made for this group of people?
But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. Farmers are being killed. They happen to be white.
The president has recognized the dire situation of this particular group of people, and again, they went through the process.
Human Rights Watch say there are thousands.
From mountains to the rivers wide, tune in, it's time to take the ride. Regina's voice, it's your guide. West Virginia's heart, it's right inside. West Virginia, why are hear the news? Politics and stories.
All right, y'all. So today we are exploring the compelling story of the 59 Afrikaners is what they're referred to as, the farmers that have been granted asylum here in the United States per POTUS, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and they are in efforts to relocate them. So we're going to learn more about that. I thought I would be remiss, though, if we didn't take a little bit of a trip back in time. So I found some footage from 2 months ago, and I always like to try to go deeper in the story. And let me tell you, a huge shout out to all you internet sleuths out there, because doing a deep dive, especially when you're using search engines such as like Google and other search engines like that. I mean, the stuff that's put to the front is understandable because it's probably the most talked about. But I think that it's important that we go a little bit back and let's hear some of the claims that were being made by other countries. And I did release a short on YouTube regarding this. Other countries warning against travel to the United States, now warning against seeking asylum or sanctuary against the United States. I think, well, I'll give you my commentary in just a moment. Let's continue watching.
Welcome back. So a Canadian immigration consultant has warned some members of the Afrikaans community in South Africa against applying for asylum in the United States. Nicholas Ramos says making a refugee claim to the US or any other country impacts future applications to other countries, including Canada, which approves close to 18,000 work permit and permanent residency applications for South Africa. Ramos joins us in studio now.
Did any of you know this information? Like, I did not know any of this. Wow. And that sounds like a collective effort against the United States. I thought you were our friends, Canada.
Now, Nicholas, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is one of those hot potato conversations now, isn't it? You know, Afrikaans community members, can they apply for asylum in the US? And I believe that as an immigration consultant, you've actually gotten a lot of, or a few calls, obviously you can give me the data of that, a few calls saying, can you help me apply for asylum to move to the US?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. We're Beaver Immigration's immigration consulting company. We mainly focus on Canada. We do some European visas on a case-by-case basis. But recently we have been receiving calls from members of predominantly the Afrikaans community asking questions about this new refugee and asylum policy that the US has come out with, which is quite interesting for us. But, you know, refugee and asylum claims are part of immigration, okay, in any country. And they're really governed by the 1951 Refugee Convention Act, which says, that framework basically says that, you know, if you have a fear of prosecution or serious harm through torture and cruelty, you can make an asylum claim. And that's usually the framework globally for it. But one thing people don't understand is that when you make this claim or when you seek asylum or refugee status in any country, this will follow you for life. And what does that mean? Well, when you go to make an application for a visitor visa to the UK, study permit to Australia, immigration officials are going to ask you, have you been denied a visa? Have you applied for refugee status? And usually the threshold for immigration officers is to determine whether you can abide by your temporary visa and status, whether you plan to return to your home country. Well, if you've made a refugee claim, you've declared that you want to leave your home country, in this case, South Africa, and you plan to never return. So it's something that's going to follow you and something that you're going to always have to explain during your travels.
All right, guys, so we are moving on. All right, y'all. So to the part of the video that I guarantee to bring you. So we're going to lay down some groundwork, some stuff that's happened, and get all angles that we can. I don't know too much about the situation, so I'm learning about it with you. Let us know in the comment section what you're thinking so far. So this is theory of white genocide in South Africa is absurd. Crisis expert News Nation Now. Now, I don't know who they represent. And you guys, this is on YouTube. So let's hear a little bit of what she has to say about it.
To talk more about this, Pauline, thank you for your time today. So a lot of people say, don't make it about race, but this is about race. I mean, we even heard it from the president there. What is your reaction to the Trump administration bringing white South Africans to the U.S. as refugees?
Well, I'm sure that the Trump administration has made these Afrikaners very happy that they will be resettled in the US, but maybe they have more economic opportunities than they think they have here in South Africa. But the idea that there will be refugees is completely false. And of course, the theory that there's a white genocide is absolutely absurd. There's no such thing happening in this country. Yes, there's a very high murder rate. But it affects Black people as much as...
Did you hear that? Yes, there is a high number of murder rates. I like the way that she got through that pretty quickly. Let's listen one more time, just slightly go back.
Black people as much as white people. It affects everybody. So it doesn't really... but it affects Black people as much as... there's no such thing happening in this country. Yes, there's a very high murder rate, but it affects Black people as much as white people. It affects everybody. So it has really nothing to do with race. But obviously, it's interesting that the Trump administration gives a special treatment to some quite fringe white people.
And we know that Elon Musk, who is very close with the president, one of his obviously top advisors, is South African. He was born in South Africa. Pauline, from your perspective, what persecution are these Afrikaners facing in reality versus what the Trump administration is alleging or claiming?
Well, there is no persecution. The fact of the matter is that, as you pointed out earlier on, that the South Africa had an apartheid system where people who were white dominated politics, they dominated the economy, and even low-skilled white people, mostly Afrikaners who didn't have many prospects, could easily get a state job in, for example, the rail network or steel mill, or they got preferential treatment in the job market.
With a new hope of building a better future.
So it sounds to me like they have something to offer. You notice in the package, the man said how to grow seed. It doesn't matter the soil. You can bring your seed over here. They are farmers, right? This is some of the best soil in the land. Are people just coming over here to, you know, try to get what they can and not contribute to the American society? And no one should be going to any other country expecting to just siphon off of its people and its resources. So let's continue on and see what Fox News has to say about all
For
this.
themselves here in the United States. But the legacy and establishment, the liberal media, are beside themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking to folks and they say really this is about race, they think, especially some South Africans who fled after the apartheid and the racist regime there. I talked to some people who told me that they feel like this is the president essentially taking the side of
Oh my God,
people,
that's joyless.
who are white over Black refugees.
The South African president says the people arriving in the U.S. today do not fit the definition of refugees, and that what Trump has been told about their persecution is false.
They got this big celebration, and these are the only, white African descendants of apartheid, the European colonials, or those who participated in apartheid. They're of all ages.
Did you do a lineage check before you're saying all this?
And morally wrong-headed and repulsive. These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history. There's just been a small handful of farmers that have been killed over the past 10 years.
So they're pretty upset, as you see. And
hold on a second. Did he just say that out loud? There's only been a small percentage of white farmers killed over the past 10 years. There's only been a small percentage. Okay. X platform, formerly known as Twitter. You guys can find me. My handle is @QueenConnell16. And you can also see my name, Regina Connell, as well. So we are going over here to this post by Gunther Eagleman. And here's Cooper relating these people to those who did some things. Isn't that how I put it at Ilion MN decades ago in South Africa? I think he's referring to whatever that woman's name, I can't remember right now. Why are they blatantly disregarding the oppression these African people have undergone? I think it's because legacy media hates white people. So let's check it out and you guys let us know what you think.
And there's a whole new round of fighting that's been going on in eastern Congo between the government and an armed group called M23. Thousands have died, hundreds of thousands displaced, and widespread reports of sexual violence against women. But President Trump hasn't allowed refugees from there here, nor from Sudan, where there's been terrible fighting. The only Africans President Trump has paved a quick path for are these South Africans. And yes, they are white. They are Afrikaners, descendants of Dutch settlers to South Africa. This is the first group of people.
Okay, before he continues on his monologuing, let me just remind everyone, if you don't remember in the 1990s, and some were Christian, some were not. I don't know. These people are Christian. We know that. It's not, look, listen, they have something to bring us. They can bring us something. So a bunch of Christians decide they want to go over to South Africa or Africa and they want to save the people. You can't save people, right? Are you going to teach them how to build businesses and be fruitful and multiply and be able to defend and sustain themselves, right? So America wanted to be, I guess, this superhero, and we can give assistance, yet look, there has to be an order to things. Okay, let's continue on.
Granted refugee status to enter the U.S. since.
And go ahead and beat me up in the comment section. It's fine. I'm used to it, you guys.
The president entered his second term. On February 7th, President Trump signed this executive order carving out an exception for the Afrikaners, the white minority who created the racist apartheid regime in South Africa and ruled there cruelly and brutally until 1994. When black South Africans, the overwhelming majority of South Africans, were allowed to vote for the first time, and they voted for that man, Nelson Mandela. Afrikaners took land from black people in South Africa, repressed them, and in the 3 decades since the end of apartheid, they still have all the land they took. Black South Africans, who make up over 80% of the population, still only own around 4% of private land. Now, President Trump was asked why these Afrikaners were allowed to enter the U.S.
Why are you creating an...
Yeah, and you guys, he did answer the question. Give me one moment and I'll pull that up for you. All right, y'all, that's about all I got for today. I'm going to let President Trump take us out with the closing remarks. These were his statements regarding those refugees and what he believes to be truth. And so I'm grateful they're here. I'm grateful that we're finding ways to relocate them and that they'll be safe. I don't fully know what's going on over there on the other side. If you do, let me know. And please provide links and all of that, you guys. Thank you for watching. My name is Regina Connell. This is West Virginia Wire, and we will see you on the flip flop.
Genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it.